What is the recipe when somebody is feeling self-conscious that's, going to help them eliminate those self-centered thoughts?
The first thing is being self-conscious is an embarrassing thing. If you don't think that, then forget about it. That's why Hasidim have that. Even the most arrogant, the most self-conscious Hasid, you just scratch the surface and say, okay. Because they know it's embarrassing. It's a chesed, not a maila. In the secular world, it's a maila. Good self-image, I know who I am, I deserve. But I think the most powerful, the most positive way is, fine, you achieved a lot, but it's nothing compared to what needs to get done. So if you have a finite goal and you're getting close to the conclusion, then you can be very arrogant about it. But if you know that your responsibilities are infinite, so you're great. So that's it. Now the world is fine. Like the Rebbe said to the guy, what good does it do your community that I'm amazing? Again, I'm amazing. So.
But like even last night, I don't know if when you were introduced, like YouTube's most popular rabbi, and people are always constantly throwing that line around. Like people feel the need to say that, to do that. Like,
first of all, I don't think it's true anymore.
That's going to be a problem.
No, it's like you buy the, what is it called? The realm, the online, what
the URL, the handle, the what?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, the URL.
You buy it. Right. I got a copyright on right. So even if it's not true. And even so, the most popular rabbi on YouTube, and the war in Israel continues, people continue to die, people continue to, so what? So what? You have to have very, very small ambition to be that arrogant.
And there should be no like self-satisfaction from that. Like,
if there is self-satisfaction, what good is that?
Right.
It's like Bikesh Yaakov Leishem B'Shalva. And Hashem said, what? That's it, and the world is good? You can have shalva. And then what?
Right.
Another letter that I ever wrote to somebody who says, I'm depressed, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to get out of bed. And everybody says, I would also like to be depressed, but there's so much to do. Who can afford that? Take a few days off and just lay in bed and don't get dressed. Yeah, sure, why not? And that's going to help the world. So the Rebbe never said, no, you're not successful. No, you're not. You're very successful. But that means you're capable. So where's the rest of your success? When I asked the Rebbe if I could leave Minnesota and start my own Chabad, the Rebbe said, you're matzliach. I said, what does that mean? You finished? It means, what is wrong with you? You see success somewhere, capitalize on it. What is that compliment? How can you walk away from a thing you're successful at? It doesn't mean you finished your job. Most of the letters were that writes to people. You're a melamed, and you have responsibility for kids to raise them. They trust you. Not you're a failure. It's always you're so successful. How could you blow it now? Yeah.
And staying in that YouTube vein for a second, what do you think about like these YouTube thumbnails, which are called clickbait, like shocking people to click on the video? Is that sort of okay? Like, because you're going to get people to hear something important, especially if it's like a Torah class.
I don't like it.
You don't like it. It's too dramatic.
It's not nice. I fall for it. I go online, shocking.
Exactly.
That's not nice.
It's not nice.
I don't think it's necessary. You attract a different clientele. People looking for shocking, there's different people than the ones looking for meaning.
Everybody does it on YouTube now. Clickbait.
Yeah, it's not nice. Or even the opposite. The answer to the solution it's hype. Hype is never good. Especially the medical claims. The end to diabetes. Just drink this. Of course, you also have to buy our product that has this in it. Come on, that's so nasty. It should be illegal. It really should be illegal. I hope Trump or whatever, Musk, makes it illegal. When it comes to medicine, you're not allowed to hype. It used to be you weren't allowed to advertise altogether. So they allowed them to advertise, and now everything is hype. There you go.
But like when you're teaching the idea, for example, like starting with something that going against the grain that's shocking that people have never heard before. For example, like when I teach God needs, like starting with that point and then sort of walking backwards and explaining that that's okay. That's not too much hype, right?
It's not hype at all. There's no hype.
Well, what do you mean by needs? Because when you say God needs, this is what I constantly get. Oh, you didn't really mean needs. Needs sounds like you need food and you need water, and then like, oh, so
that means you didn't listen to the rest of the tape. Okay, I always explain it.
Right, but then
it's not hype.
It's not hype.
It is the truth that hasn't been told. Why is it even surprising? To a person who doesn't know anything about God, why is it even surprising? You didn't know anything about God, so I'm telling you. God created the world because he is in need or desperate for. Where's that a shock? Because you think you know something about God. From where?
It's just the criticism that I always get when I start with that, like, oh, you didn't really mean what you said. Because when I think needs, it makes it sound like if he didn't have the mitzvah, then he wouldn't exist. So I wasn't being so honest. Because I knew I'd get that reaction. People say, you like to be, they tell me, like I told you, like inflammatory.
It's not inflammatory. It's true. Right. It's not like eventually you'll take it back.
Right.
You take it back.
You're just upping the ante. What a true need is, what essential is.
I don't know. I keep thinking, like, well, why? Why are people so resistant? Could be because they're accustomed to treating God as a mystery. You try to demystify God, you get resistance. So it's not like, oh, he can't need. We can't know anything about him. That's the bottom line. So to say he needs, well, how do you know that? We don't know anything about God.
Why would they want to keep him a mystery?
That's how God is treated. Something you don't know, but you have to believe. Blind faith. Start talking about God as if there's a reality there. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like God anymore. Because God is
unknowable. Yesterday on the tour, I mentioned the idea, and these kids were coming from a Reform synagogue. And they loved the idea. And one kid put up his hand and said, whoa, this is making God way too real to me. I'm very uncomfortable with this. I'm very uncomfortable with this. Like a very interesting reaction. Wouldn't you want him to become more real? And he said, I can't explain. I don't know, for some reason, this conversation is making me uncomfortable. He's making it, God's becoming way too real.
So Jordan Peterson, when they keep asking him, do you believe in God? And he doesn't want to answer the question. So because belief in God means he's real. Well, if he's real, why do you act the way you act? So to say I believe in God doesn't mean anything. Because you're talking about a God that isn't real. If you really believe in a real God, you would get your act together. So to say you believe in God is like a huge statement. Who has the chutzpah to say that? You sin your life away and you say you believe in God? Yeah, it can make people very uncomfortable when God becomes real.
I'm saying even Orthodox people who obviously would say that they believe in God, when you shift it all the way to, do you think God needs us to serve him? That's too much for them because they want to keep him a mystery, unknowable. Because why? Well,
that's the way he's introduced. Why don't you see God? There's nothing to see. It's a feeling. They don't want God to be real.
But Orthodox religious people, they're learning Chumash their whole life, and God spoke to Moses. He seems kind of real. We're supposed to be taught that he's kind of real.
Then you throw in the word Kavayoho, and we're back to good.
Something doesn't add up. Like, he's definitely real when we have problems and we need him to help us. Yeah. Then he's like
comforting. So he's still not real.
Not comforting.
Yeah. That, opiate of the masses.
Right. Wait. Is there any truth to that statement?
Yeah. Sure.
People just need to find some comfort.
Yeah. That's true of religion. Not of Torah. It's like, if God needed, it would be so amazing. It would be so, what could he possibly need? Whatever it is, it's awesome. Yeah, it's the Torah. You never realized Torah was awesome? You see, there's the other side of the problem. If he did need, what would he need me to eat this and not that? Come on. If he really needed, it would be, whoa. Where he needs me to make a bracha after I eat. You're limiting God. As if Torah is a limit. So that, you're right, 100% right. If God did need something, it would be awesome. Yeah. That's what the Torah is.
But he's not introduced that way.
He's not introduced that way.
He's introduced usually pretty angry or very upset, or
he's a metaphor. He's a metaphor.
Right. That's like the first time I heard you say this. It shifted like, oh wow, he's real. I never thought of him as vulnerable or dependent or like real. It was always just like,
And it didn't make you uncomfortable? Getting too real for comfort?
I don't know. It's just it's interesting. Like even last time we were talking about there was just God, and suddenly He creates a world and He gives all these laws. Like when you think about it, like there was just Him, and where did that motivation come from? Where did that need come from?
Yeah.
It's just like thinking very deeply or probing or asking a lot of questions. I can see why people who've been religious their whole life are free to do that.
People don't stop to think when you say he needed, he wanted, he decided. So when we decide, it's a result of a lot of experiences and needs and we say he decided. that's pretty essential because we talk about him. Who Omar Vayeh? That means he doesn't need it? Who Omar? Think for a second. He said it. Oh yeah, he just said it. What are you talking about?
It just, I don't know. Everybody's in this community, for example, is religious. They're doing this careful, like, and then there's this whole other piece of the puzzle. Like we said last time, the elephant in the room. Like it just seems almost irrelevant to have this discussion. I mean, I speak to many people, and it's an irrelevant discussion. That's what they tell me. It's semantics, needs, wants, desires, and it's just hard bringing it all together. How is that even possible that we've gone to such a stage in history when people are like, people living their life, bar mitzvahs, weddings, Pesach, camps. These discussions seem irrelevant.
You go to do some outreach, and you're talking to a guy who doesn't believe in God, and he's perfectly content. So you say, no, I can't let him be like that. I got to convince him. I got to show him. I got to. Why? Leave the man alone. His life is working. What do you want to mess everything up for? I say, well, because there is a God, and people have to know the truth. But those who are observant and committed, and they don't have to shake up their lives ever. They reach a comfort level and leave me alone. It's not consistent. You want everybody else to shake up their lives, but you don't want to be discomforted at all. If you believe in God and you're serving God, wouldn't you be thrilled to hear that He actually needs what you're doing? What is wrong with you? Even if you don't think it's true, wouldn't you be thrilled at the possibility?
Out of my whole life since I'm a child, He's been introduced to me as all-powerful, perfect. And I'd have to undo many years of.
And this all-powerful and perfect God needs you.
I just can't wrap my mind around that.
I understand.
So that's the problem.
But wouldn't you be thrilled at the possibility? That's why I asked this guy, what would you prefer? That He's so perfect that He doesn't need you? Or that He's not so perfect but He needs you? Why would you prefer that He be perfect? There's something wrong with that. If you prefer that He be perfect, You're not in a relationship. If you're in a relationship, of course you prefer that he needs you.
So, um, just one last question. I often have my trouble defining the statement of Chelek Elokam Imam Mamash, that we're literally a piece of God, and everyone throws it around like you're literally a piece of Him, and the Pintel Yid. Well, how do we explain that you literally are a piece of God? Chelek Elokam Imam Mamash. What does that mean? Right, like you said before, does that mean we have a computer chip? That's a piece of Him. Like, what does it mean that we're a piece of God?
The question of how can there be a peace? That's a good question. But how can you understand being a piece of God if you don't think God is real? That's the real problem.
Right.
A piece of what? A piece of Him. Him is nothing. It'd be interesting, to ask people, is God real? Oh, what does real mean? What do you mean real? Does He exist? Yeah, of course He exists. Is He real? What does that mean? He created the whole world. Yeah. That makes Him real? Because the world is real? So God is real because the world is real. And only God could create such a real world. So who's really real? So Gashmias is real. If He created Gashmias, then He must be real. That's pathetic. It's a very good question. You believe in God, you worship God, you serve God, you're from. What makes God real? He cares. Does He really? Not really. Who would say God doesn't care? Oh, He does care. Of course He cares. Does He really care?
Yeah, He really cares. People would say that. The problem is when you go, does He really need?
Well, what does care mean?
Right. It's just that need word. That's why we use it.
Yeah.
It cuts through everything very quickly because you don't always have the time. But what makes Him real?
It seems a little funny. Like He created a very real world, but he's not so real. He can't be in the bathroom. Right. If you believe He can't be in the bathroom, you worship the bathroom. The bathroom is more powerful than God. He can't be there. Have your head in the toilet. So we're just looking at this mimer where the Rebbe says, what does it mean? I've heard of it. So in Tanya, he says, you served him, but you didn't do it with simcha. That's why you're in Golos. And the Rebbe says, a little harsh. Because I didn't do it with simcha, that's why 2,000 years of Golos. It can't be. So what it means is like this. You're in Golos because you sinned. Or chet, at least. But if you did mitzvahs b'simcha, it would make up for it, and you wouldn't go in Golos. But because you did the mitzvah b'simcha, that's why your Avedas are taking you into Golos. Amazing? Which means that even if you did Avedas, but you did mitzvahs b'simcha, you wouldn't suffer from the Aveda. Not beruchnis, not begashmis, right? So it's almost like it's more powerful than tshuva. Tshuva helps some things. Doing a mitzvah b'simcha is more powerful than tshuva. Or maybe that's tshuva me'ava. But then the Rebbe says, well, what is simcha? Simcha means knowing that the mitzvah is atzmus, which is greater than Gan Eden. Because the godliness and the simcha in Gan Eden is only from a ha'orim. But the mitzvah is atzmus himself. So that when you do a mitzvah, you become nisached im ha'atzmus. Become ech, not nisached. You become echad im ha'atzmus. That's real simcha. And that's the simcha that could have kept you out of, in other words, not knowing that the mitzvah is atzmos, you blew it. So I showed this to Rabbi Gorelik. He says, 40 years the Rebbe is saying this. Where's everybody blind and deaf? What's going on here? So then in that Yutrat line where the Rebbe says, the Yetzer Hara wants to convince you that you're not that great. That's the Yetzer Hara. Saying the Eibusha doesn't need me is a Yetzer Hara. Now, look, if we wanted to, we put together a whole sefer of the Rebbe saying all of these things. But then what have we accomplished? People stop listening to the Rebbe.
It still wouldn't help. Because they're not, you could obviously learn it in a mimer, and also Rabbi Gorelik is saying what he told you after. I know for a fact he's heard about the discussion. So it's probably become apparent to him when he learns the mimer now.
Yeah, but if you keep saying, the Rebbe said, the Rebbe said, the Rebbe. So every misnagah was, that's what I don't like about Lubavitch.
Yeah.
So what have you accomplished?